business side of USANA. As I said, the products are for you for sure. But if you're on the fence, consider this. This gentleman here, Sandy Botkin, estimates that you will put between $3,000 and $9,000 a year back in your pocket simply by having a home business. Okay. Now, what happens is we all have expenses already. We have, our cell phones, and we have the miles that we drive and the meals that we eat, and we have a computer. You're on your computer right now. You have an internet bill, things like that. So we all have expenses. If you don't have a business, however, most of those expenses are not tax deductible. However, if you do have a business, then many of those expenses that we already have can become tax deductible, and you just need to talk to your accountant about which ones can be. But the average person, $3,000 to $9,000 a year. If you do $6,000 a year, that's a $500 a month raise just for having a business. That's fantastic right there, and you still get all the benefits of no employees, no boss, and that high income potential. So tax benefits are a huge reason for starting a home-based business. Now, network marketing has definitely come of age. When you look back, network marketing is actually about a 54-year-old industry, and it got started by some of the older multi-level type companies, but it's evolved over time. You wouldn't probably want to fly cross-country in the Wright brothers plane right now, but it was still a plane, right? But it's evolved. Now we have much better planes, right? Well, the same thing's happened with network marketing. And USANA is a relatively young company. We're going to be 16 years old this year, and we were able to sort of look back and say, well, we love the idea of networking. We all network every day anyway. We all tell people about great movies or great restaurants and things like that. Unfortunately, the movies and the restaurants don't pay us, but we love to tell people about them. And I believe we're designed by our creators to network with each other and build on each other's strengths and encourage each other. So networking is good. The problem is many of the older multi-level plans had a lot of pitfalls in them, and we're going to talk about that and kind of how we got rid of those in just a little while. But suffice to say, really, network marketing has come of age, and it's undeniable that it's a viable way to entrepreneurship. And that's a quote from Dr. Stephen Covey. So most of you have heard of Stephen Covey. He's an absolutely awesome author and speaker. The benefits of network marketing. This is the other thing I love about this company. I don't actually inventory products. I don't stock products and then get orders from people and drive them all over town. This is really a direct sales type company. So I simply tell people about the wonderful products that USANA manufactures. But USANA actually sends the products directly to the customer. So therefore, I don't have to repackage things and drive them all over town and collect a lot of sales receipts. I have almost no paperwork, and I don't have to inventory products. That's a pretty wonderful thing. We're also, by the way, open internationally. We're in 14 countries right now, so as long as someone's in one of those countries, you can ship the products directly to them. And what this also means is not only the first time I talk to a customer, but every time that customer orders for the rest of their life, I can get paid again, potentially. That means that this becomes a time-leveraged residual income, and that's a very, very powerful thing. And there's very few ways to secure your financial future, but having a leveraged income is certainly one of them. Now, again, I need to depress you slightly before we bring you out of this again, but on the health side, it's not looking a whole lot better here. On the health side, you've got degenerative disease at rates that are just astounding. And I know if you just, bottom line is if I could see all of you on this webcast here and ask you, I know you could name 20 people, each of you, that you know that are affected directly or indirectly by one or more of these diseases. And 4 of these diseases affect my family, my immediate family, directly. Look at the bottom statistic. 1/3 to 1/2 of kids are expected to have type 2 diabetes. That's just obscene to me. That's just crazy that these statistics are out there. These are degenerative diseases. They're not contagious diseases. This is not like catching something from someone else. You don't catch cancer. You don't catch stroke. These are diseases of lifestyle, neglect, and very often, frankly, poor nutrition. Now, we need to talk about that because there is a war going on within our bodies, and believe me, trust me, I have nothing against medical doctors, but if you go to a medical doctor with a problem, they're going to run some tests on you, and they're going to test your systems and your organs and things like that. Well, the problem, at least from a nutritional standpoint, happens at a much smaller level. It's at the cellular level. Every cell in the human body has basically the same nutritional needs. And the body has an amazing ability to sort of regenerate itself. And we're very careful at USANA not to use words like healing and curing and things like that. But I do believe that if you give the body the right ammunition, if you will, the body does have a certain ability to regenerate itself, and that's what we're trying to do here. Take a look at some cell cultures here, because this is really fascinating to me. The top one, that healthy human cell culture, that's what a cell culture should look like in a laboratory if you look at it under a microscope. The second cell culture is basically the same cell culture after you give it some French fries. These are digested products from a typical fast food meal. These are things like hydrogenated oils and trans fats that we try to avoid in our diet, but when you eat fried foods, look at what happens to that cell. I mean, it looks really, really bad. Now, the bottom one is the same cell culture if you gave it some good oxidation defense mechanisms, which are things like antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, and things like that, before you give it the French fries. So now you're still putting in the toxins, but look how much better it looks. Also note that it doesn't look perfect. And as I said, we don't claim healing and curing, but it's looking a lot better. And that's really what we're trying to do here is at the cellular level, we're trying to tip the scales back in your favor. Because in this balance that we live in life, we have one side of the scale that's really bad. It's stress and radiation and pollution and toxins and poor food choices, right? And on the other side is our food, and we try to eat a good diet. But the point is here, even if we could eat, I mean, you would have to eat so much food to counter this stuff because the levels of stress and the levels of radiation, the level of toxins have gone up. There are thousands of new chemicals, new toxins that are produced every year. So, I mean, you just need a massive amount of food to combat that. The other problem is our food has been depleted. Now, if the food's getting depleted, it's going to take, just to get 400 units of vitamin E in your diet, you'd have to eat 29 pounds of spinach a day. I mean, this is almost comical. 29 pounds of spinach, that's 4 7-pound salads. I mean, you'd never leave the house if you had that much. You know, it's just crazy numbers. But the point here is you've got the bad side of the scale is getting weighed down heavier and heavier, and on the good side of the scale, our food just can't cut it. So there's really only one solution. We have to supplement. Now, 2/3 of Americans are already taking supplements. Most of you people, if you're on this webcast, you're probably taking supplements because you're interested in health or you wouldn't be here. But look at that lady's face on the right-hand side there. Look how confused she looks because she's facing a wall of supplements. Here's a really disturbing study here. 54% of nutritional supplements tested didn't even disintegrate properly. Now, if a product is not going to dissolve, how is it going to do what it needs to do in your body? The problem is, and this is really on the product side of this presentation, this is really the issue here. Are you getting what you're paying for? You know, the FDA in this country, they have sort of two standards. They have a food standard and a drug standard. But vitamins are only required to meet the food standard. And the food standard is basically a cleanliness requirement. It really doesn't have to have anything to do with efficacy and things like that. So what happens is the typical vitamins that you're going to get on a store shelf or in a health food store are going to be food grade, which means they meet the standards of frozen pizza instead of penicillin. Now, if you're going to take a supplement, wouldn't you like that supplement to meet the standards of penicillin instead of pizza? I think we all would agree that we would. Well, this brings me to the founder of our company, and his name is Dr. Myron Wentz. I'm going to spend one slide telling you his story because he really is the foundation, the cornerstone of USANA. Dr. Wentz has a PhD in microbiology and immunology, and you can see his awards here. Not only is he the recipient of the Albert Einstein Award last year, I mean, that tells you the intelligence of this man, but also he also won Utah's Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. So he's also a very good businessman as well. And the company that he owned before USANA existed was called Gull Laboratories. And Gull was and still is actually a premier developer of viral diagnostic test kits. Okay, so Dr. Wentz actually developed the first commercially available test kit for the Epstein-Barr virus. A lot of you have heard of those. He's also worked on a lot of the mononucleosis viruses and things like that. Bottom line is, when you grow or when you're developing viral test kits, the first thing you do is you grow cell cultures in a lab, and then you inject them with viruses. And if you can keep those cell cultures alive and duplicating, and you don't have to go out and buy new cell cultures all the time, which can get very expensive, then your company actually flourishes. And Gull Laboratories did very well back in the 70s because Dr. Wentz figured out how to grow those cells. Now, how do we grow cells in a laboratory? You grow them in nutrients. You grow them in a nutritional bath, a vitamin bath, if you will. Well, Dr. Wentz had some tragedies in his life, and he'd lost his mom to breast cancer. He lost his dad early to heart disease. And, you know, as he was getting older, a friend of his actually that was a pharmacist suggested that Dr. Wentz take some vitamins. So he says, okay, that's a good idea. Well, he was handed a bottle of store-brand vitamins that you would recognize quite well. And Dr. Wentz looked at that store-brand vitamin and said, oh, my goodness. You know, if I took that store-brand vitamin and I dissolved it in water and I fed it to my cells at Gull Laboratories, they would probably all be dead within a week. Now, this is a man who had cells that had been alive for years in a laboratory, and he said the average store-brand vitamin would kill them in a week. That's an extremely powerful statement. Well, Dr. Wentz is quite a visionary, and you'll hear a little bit more about that in just a little while. But because of being the visionary he is, he actually sold Gull Laboratories back in 1989. And instead of retiring